Hey there, Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle with you this evening. We do have a storm in southern Oklahoma that has now prompted the National Weather Service to issue a tornado warning. So now that has occurred, we'll begin our severe weather coverage and talk about tornadoes down in that part of the state. Nothing like that here in Oklahoma City metro area, so we're going to focus our attention again down into southern Oklahoma. So that's the first place we're going to take a look here on the radar view. Let's take a look here. And we're, again, south of Purcell, south of Pauls Valley. This is around Stevens County. So this is down around Purnell, Elmore City. So we do have a confirmation of a brief tornado, what they call a cone is what the shape of it was. Now, of course, this will be at nighttime. It'll be hard to see. Radar algorithms are predicting a tornado probability of only around 13%. Now, given this environment, we may not see that number get very high. But that's what we have to work with down here in southern Oklahoma. So let's do a track on that for you and tell you the communities involved. And it's one of those deals, luckily, again, it's kind of an open area, so there's not really many towns in the way, which is good for the short term. Eventually, the storm will work its way between Elmore City and Tatum's here and staying north of Velma. So that's what we have right now for the location of this. This is east of Bray. So that's where we've got the actual center of the tornado is just east. Let me put this on here, and there we go. Also, of course, is going to have some hail within this, by the way. Okay, so Highway 17 is where that was located, and so the storm will be east of that here momentarily. So the wording on this, oh, by the way, the speed is to the east at about 22 miles per hour, so official observed tornado. You need to be in your shelters, obviously, for this. The lowest level of your floor, outside walls and windows. Keep as much distance between those as you can, and as many interior walls as you can to stay safe from this event. Again, probability of tornadoes in the 12 to 15% category. You pop up here one of the roadways besides the highway. Let's see here. My naming rows aren't popping up for me. There we go. I gotta get in there real tight apparently. All right, so that's East Road 1670. So we're having a little issue with that. All right, so let me go with the velocity data here. And that is where that intersection is. So this is the couplet on radar, this little area of interest. So this is the circulation center from the radar viewpoint. And we're also looking at around, 3,000 feet elevation. So we are within the elevation terrain of catching the good low-level circulation on the radar view. All right, now the Weather Service went ahead and turned this to a purple color, which does indicate a confirmed sighting for the tornado. Which we already mentioned. The updated warning on this is a confirmed tornado located about 8 miles southeast of Bray, moving east at 20, damaging tornado and golf ball size hail. Weather spotters did confirm a tornado. We have Elmore City, Foster, Tatum's, and Purnell in the path of the storm itself. Maybe not necessarily the tornado. We'll track that for you down to the street level. Let's see here. Max hail size also is about 1.75 inches, so that would be golf ball size hail. And the rotation signature on here is picked up a little bit. Let me put a marker here, and then we'll find out what the wind speeds here. Looks like so it's going to be an EF0 potential Ef1 tornado. So on the low end, on that scan, here's a new one that just came in. It actually looks like it increased just a bit. So we'll measure this one. This is probably going to be a stronger, slightly stronger for an Ef1 tornado. So it looks like that's what we're going to have here, down here in southern Oklahoma. So let me see here. That's Parker Road and North Road 2970. That's the intersection, just east of that intersection. It'll be coming up on North Road 2290, and again, Parker Road, which runs, I guess, east out of there. Eventually crossing over this little creek. That's Black Bear Creek stream. So that is the velocity data we're looking at. Here's what the reflectivity looks like. We can check this. Oh, by the way, it's a good hail core up here north of that. Let's see if we have any what we call tornado debris signature, and we do not. Okay. Next thing we want to do is to look underneath the structure of the tornado to see what it's on top of, right? Well, we get down here, we're going to zoom in. All right, what we have is some industry, probably grain lots. There's no housings development here. It's good news. We have some drop-off stations, looks like, probably for oil and gas and turn-offs for all that kind of stuff. So a bunch of open farmland right now with a lot of trees, so that's good news. No major, and that might even be some, yeah, not sure, I don't want to speculate. But regardless, a lot of trees out here, so that's good. It's in an open area that's not densely populated. So that's what we have going for us right now with the official tornado warning. And so this is probably going to be an Ef1 tornado. And this is in the area we talked about in our forecast discussion from last night, if you watched me live, and that was going to be in the southern parts of Oklahoma. We had outlined, I'm backing out here a little bit, the most favorable area for a potential tornado was we had done something like this. North Texas, just down to Dallas-Fort Worth, and then kind of back in here into South Central and this little part of southeast Oklahoma. That was the most favorable area for wind shear, juxtaposed with instability. So if you live in this area, you still might get a tornado out of it if conditions are absolutely perfectly ideal. All right, so let's again go back in here. This is west of Wynnewood, west of Pauls Valley, west of Elmore City. It's the only storm that has a potential tornado right now. Let's see. Let's see here. You guys up here watching from northern parts of the metro, eastbound toward Tulsa, up the turnpike, some good thunderstorms. I mean, they're going to have the typical lightning, heavy rainfall, some small hail, maybe a little bit of gusty wind. We've had some hail in the past up around an inch in diameter. So 1 inch size hail is kind of the minimum, you might say, for a severe thunderstorm. Hail size here around Luther, east of you guys, south of Wellston, looks to be a little bit stronger on the radar view. Got some purple in here, so likely some cores about an inch in diameter coming down as well. Otherwise, Oklahoma City did fairly well. We had a couple of storms bubbling up here through town, but by the time they really got going, they moved to the east side pretty quickly. So if you're here in Oklahoma City, our threat is over. As far as anything that is severe, tornadic, anything like that, it's all moved off to the east. So if you live out on 40, towards Shawnee, Chandler, and then back up towards Stroud and Tulsa again, you're underneath the line of those storms moving in. Then back down south toward Norman, you're okay. Noble, Purcell, Byers, and then we back here into southern Oklahoma. But right now, the best instability, because there hasn't been any other storms in this region to feed in and to mess up the environment. So this is kind of a fresh environment, so to speak, within this. Let's see, so Purnell has got 705, Tatum 719, and Hennepin around 732. So that's the general directional speed it's going. Okay, so let me see if anything's changed with the tornado debris signature, and we're still not detecting anything. Remember, there were trees down there, so it would be able to kick that up. And if it does kick up those trees at a high enough elevation, we should be able to see them in the radar data. Just not seeing it. And actually, remember that couplet I showed you a minute ago? It's gone. It's really weakened quite a bit. So the tornado threat actually is over temporarily. And now it might ramp back up or regenerate, but for now it's gone. It didn't last long, just a couple of minutes here as we were on live, and that's about it. So, but that is the overall general region we'd be concerned with if we were to develop another one. All right, so what we're going to do here is go up in elevation. I want to see how the storm looks aloft. All right, so what we call a low-top supercell. So low-top supercell means it's not very high in altitude. So if a storm were to get up here to this top, it's 60,000 feet, 50,000 feet, 40,000 feet. Low-top supercells usually range between 30 and 40,000 feet, so it's about in the ballpark there of where it should be on a case basis. And if you look at the core within this, the core itself isn't that high. It barely gets into the hail growth zone, so just over 10,000 feet to the red line here. It's about 18,000 feet, so that's where it generates the larger hailstones, where you can get to golf ball size hail within that, and that's in that purple shading right there. And if you look, as we put this down onto a flat dimensional view, you can see if you look at now top down the storm, that's where the hail core is on that northwest side here that we're looking at. But we can also sometimes look at the core for the rotation, and we'll see if we can't see anything with that. Sometimes it shows up pretty well in the data, like there on the surface. There's that little bright couplet we looked at a minute ago. And then we can follow the rotational loft. And I'm going to look at a few things here. So this is the spinning column of air, mind you. This is the updraft region that goes up, and this is that thin, narrow column that contains the circulating the winds that come all the way down the surface, and which contains where your tornado lives, basically. All right, let me put this on. And we're going to check out the gradient here. Very weak, by the way, on the rotation signature. The values that I'm having to pull up from this is pretty low. So that's a good sign. You want non-strong values when you're looking for stuff like that. All right, go with this guy. And to get those to show up, I'm only about 12 to 15 knots. Yeah. All right. So it's a weak mesocyclone that produced this particular tornado warning. All right. This is just me, so I can see what it looks like three-dimensional. So it can help me to diagnose and kind of predict what's going to happen in the environment with this particular storm. Okay, putting this into motion for you. It does show it moving to the southeast. I'm also going to see if how the inflow return is affecting the shower coming in from its south. Okay, let me go back to that one. I'm going to back it up. Okay, so this is going to go through an organizational period as it's going to ingest this shower right here that's coming into it. And sometimes I can do two things. One, it can kill the storm structure as it is, or it can help use any extra vorticity or spin within this cluster to help kick it up a notch. You're not really sure which way it's going to go in some cases until you get a little more into it. So another couple of minutes, then we can watch the trends there. But that's what's happening west of Purnell. So again, if you're out here in southern Oklahoma underneath this warning area, between Purnell, Tatum's, and Hennepin, just stay in your tornado shelters until it passes. The good news is the best rotational velocity on that, long gone from what it was earlier. It only lasted, so let's go back in time, by the way. So when this tornado was first spotted, we can take a look at the velocity data. Sometimes that's helpful. Let's see, what time was that reported? Get off of there. 39. Okay. So it was about this time where the tornado was sighted. And the rotational velocity at this point was not all that strong. I mean, here's your couplet right here. So it's kind of good, because remember, each environment's going to be a little different at what it can produce, what it needs to produce. And this is a low-end event, not a whole lot of ingredients. Everything's borderline. You don't need everything maybe to push it just above that. You just might just a little something to get you a weak tornado out of it. So right now, that wind speed development there was pretty weak, and that was able to produce the tornado. The couplets stayed together there for another frame there. That's 2 minutes. And it got the best here. We looked at it here. That was 3 minutes in, and it was gone. So it was a 3-minute tornado in all estimates. And as far as any damage is concerned, only thing would have been some bushes out there and some trees. And I don't see any strong debris signature. So if it was very small, it didn't kick it up very high in the atmosphere. It didn't make it to 3,000 feet, which is where the radar is sampling. That means that it's very low, so it did very minimal damage, if any. So all that's good news. We can deduct all of that given a good analysis of the data, and then we just did that. So that's the reason why I do that for you. I think it helps on the anxiety side, if you live in this area. Obviously, if we're using the debris signature and it goes through a neighborhood, and then I've got a big strong signature that's gone out and it's growing and expanding, it's getting higher. All those things tell me stronger tornado, still on the ground. obviously going through a populated region. So all those things are factors of, I guess, alarm or concern, level of concern. So luckily for us in this particular case, it's gone the best way it can go for right now. Okay, so anyway, that's down in southern Oklahoma. So if you're joining me late, that's where we're looking at. It's in Stevens County. Tornado warning continues there for about the next, I think it's 30 minutes. If you look up here in northern Oklahoma from Tulsa, stretching down the east side of Oklahoma City, these are just your standard typical thunderstorms. Some of these will be severe with a little bit of hail, wind, and lightning. But the biggest, strongest, potentially tornadic storms going to be down here in southern Oklahoma, it looks like. And it's North Texas. Don't want to forget that. We talked about that last night, how the models really favored North Texas for another tornadic storm potential down here. They have had a report of a wall cloud at one point. And these storms down here may do that. Any of these will be potential as they move southward toward the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I'll need to look at some data that'll be coming in here. Actually, might come in here momentarily. I can take a look at that with you. All right, let me go back to this other view. All right, so the waiting list on that expires at 7:30 and moving to the east at 22 miles per hour. All right, so again, if you live in Tatum's right along Highway 7, you will continue to be in your storm shelters until this passes by. You're in the what we call the polygon region, which is this red box on the screen. Elmore City, you notice you're not in that polygon region. That's because even though you may hear sirens going off, the storm's actually south of you. It'll pass south of 76 and 29. Now the hail core will come within about 2 miles, maybe 3 miles of you. On the southwest side, but the actual tornado itself would probably pass about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 miles to your south. And then now Tatum's, it would probably pass about 2 miles north. So if I had to guess a intersection at this point in time with the residual circulation, Range Road looks like an intersection, and if I can get another one in here, we got North Road 3100. Let's make it easy. Let's say 76, so Highway 76 and East Road 1710. That's probably where this is going to go. So that kind of puts it on a path like so. So you can see how it passed north of Tatum's, kind of a deal. Because the storms are kind of moving from the northwest to the southeast. All right, let me see if there's anything here on the velocity data that I need to check out. Still a very weak, broad rotation. It's good. I'd like to see that. All right. Okay. Let's see, rotation tracker. Is this still working? It is. So the rotation tracker is where it tracks the low-level circulation of the mesocyclone, which does produce the tornado. So it's not always necessarily the tornado itself. It's what generates the tornado when you're talking about a supercell storm. Now, if you're tracking, those QLCS type tornadoes, which are along the leading edge of a line, and the radar is very close, you can actually track the physical tornado with this algorithm. But for now, we're kind of in the little bigger area, which is why it extends probably, it looks like about a mile in distance from here to here. I think it's about a mile. So this track is a mile wide, and it's also about 6 miles long. Now keep in mind, the tornado was spotted right back in this area, and then we gathered the data to about here. So this is where the tornado was officially on the ground during this point. It was not here, but the broad circulation is still there. You notice how it's expanded. So that kind of means some weakening of the tightness of the couplet of the mesocyclone. So it's kind of broadening. So could mean that's done. That's not going to do it again. So we'll see what happens with that. But needless to say, that's just one of the other features we can track with this. All right, let's go back here to the reflectivity. So the different radar products, if you're not from around here and you're from other parts of the country and you've seen the guys on TV do storm coverage, if they even do it at all, they usually just show you reflectivity, which is this rainfall product. Shows you where the rain is, right? Heavy storms. But here in Oklahoma, No, man. You're going to get everything but the kitchen, well, everything, including the kitchen sink. It's going to be a kitchen sink formula. So we're going to see all kinds of stuff. We're going to see all kinds of crazy radar products, including velocity data, and we'll walk you through it as to where the tornado is, looking all that kind of stuff. You'll just have to get used to it. I try to explain to you, what we're looking at on all those different cases. All right. Again, Oklahoma City, looking good. So if you're tuning in here, we've got some storms east side of town, heading out toward from Tinker eastbound on I-40, and also down here toward Norman. Man, you guys in Norman, you finally got a break. You know what I see here? Some pea-sized hail on the east side. And that's it. So congratulations. You actually got through a storm without having to get blasted by hail and some wind. But that's what we got going on there. Let me check the wind speeds. Nothing strong, nothing crazy. Let's see what's happening here in Wayne. Little cell there, but currently behaving. And again, this one down south, it's also behaving. Can't find much with it currently, so that's good news. So what will happen is they're going to cancel the tornado warning just because it fell apart. So that's the next step. And what I will do is I will continue to watch the storms down here. And if one decides to try to produce a tornado again, I'll do another live cut-in and I'll send another notification. If you're on Facebook right now, by the way, if you're on YouTube and you tap the bell, you'll get notified every time I go live. If you're on Facebook, you may not, or you may not on time. In other words, maybe delayed by the time Facebook tells you, which doesn't do you any good. In the description of this video, you can tap it on your phone or your computer, and there'll be a link to opt in to get a direct notification from me through your Facebook Messenger. So click on that link, and that way, the next time I go live to cover a potential tornado here, you'll be able to get that notification. And any really time I go live, you'll be able to get it that way. Because sometimes Facebook doesn't always play nice with the algorithms. It tries to predict what you want and when you want it. And, well, if you want some of this, you may not get it unless you choose another way to get it. That's why I also encourage you to use YouTube. Sign up. If you're on YouTube but you barely use it, it's fine. You don't need to watch me from there. But if you go there, follow my YouTube page, and you tap to get notified, and you tap that bell, it's just a backup. And that way, when that goes off, then go to the Facebook page. That way you can chat with all your friends. So I ask you to do that for two things. One, it helps to keep you in the loop. And then B, it helps me on my end with YouTube, because as long as I can get a certain number of followers on YouTube, then it'll keep the closed captioning going automatically. If you guys don't follow, if I lose a certain number on there, then they'll stop doing that, and that's a disservice. So by you guys helping me, I help you, and then YouTube helps everybody. So it's kind of this circle of life going on in social media. All right, one last look down here before I turn you loose and let you go. So that you know, I'll be watching these storms down here in southern Oklahoma this evening, and one last look at this one that's kind of falling apart around Purnell. I believe this should be canceled. It's going to be canceled. It hasn't already. Last update was at 6:58, but it's so disorganized now. There is no more low-level rotation of any stature, so it's done. And that little inflow we talked about killed it, so that disrupted what was left of it. Sometimes those storms are really mature, typically, and they're pretty large, and you get like a little cell that comes into it, it won't disrupt it. But this one, yeah, that was a pretty big cell that was interacting with it, and it wasn't all that strong to begin with, the main cell, so I can see how that would kill it and remove the threat. So that's good. That means there's no more tornado threat down there, and the warning will expire. So that's it for me. All right, listen, you guys, thanks again for watching. Stay by your phone, tablet, computer, whatnot, or in your TV if you're using your apps in your TV for your smart TVs. And I'll broadcast again should conditions warrant. All right, thanks for watching. Be safe out there.